I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting of Monday, April 1st, 2019. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Berman?
Here.
Trustee Cofino?
Here.
Trustee Lowry?
Here.
Trustee Carroll?
Here.
And Trustee Gately?
Here.
Any trustee comments? Our item for discussion, Mr. Toth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item for Committee of the Whole discussion tonight is the boundary line agreement with Sugar Grove. In September of 2015, we approved a 20-year agreement with the Village of Sugar Grove, which lies to our west. In going through the boundary line agreement exercise with the City of Batavia and also the City of Aurora, we've actually had to revisit our boundary line with the Village of Sugar Grove. You can see here on the illustration that the portion in red outlines our current boundary line agreement with Sugar Grove. Basically, it is from 88 to the terminus of Section 35. And the reason why we're looking to extend the boundary line agreement right now with Sugar Grove is to basically be able to work through our boundary line agreement with Batavia. So there's additional territory that we're in discussions with in Batavia that would be to the north of that blue hash line. So in order to prevent overlapping of our boundary lines with Sugar Grove and Batavia, we're looking to amend our boundary line with Sugar Grove, and the City of Batavia is also as well. So basically what we'd do is we'd pick up at the point of termination at the northern part of the red line here. We would continue down the section line to Norris Road, head north to Bliss Road, and then head north to Main Street. Now, that's not to insinuate that our boundary with Batavia is going to go all the way to Main Street, but it basically just creates a demising line with the communities that allows us to now go to Batavia and negotiate a boundary with them, because we do anticipate additional discussions with Batavia with territory that is not as part of our boundary line agreement with Batavia at this time, because that boundary line agreement we have right now actually terminates with our boundary line with Batavia, if that makes any sense. So basically extending this boundary line just creates a way for us to go back with Batavia and renegotiate some of the land which is located to the northwest of our current boundary and incorporated limits with North Aurora. So just looking for feedback. What we'd have to do is actually go through a public hearing process. We do have a notification process or deadline, so we probably would bring this back at a later date if the board would be amenable to this, and we look to establish another 20-year agreement. And the comprehensive plan too also suggests that we visit all of our boundary line agreements. So that's what we're looking to do, is just kind of create a time period where we kind of have all of these done at one point in time. So we're on 20-year terms with those three surrounding communities, so we can have those discussions at once to avoid overlapping discussions and then breaks in time periods. So if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address that.
So the red line indicates our current agreement?
With Sugar Grove, yes.
Okay, so then the proposed change would be the dotted blue?
Correct.
Dotted
Yeah,
blue.
we would hold that line, and then just the additional portion of the dotted blue line would be our new boundary line agreement. So it would basically go from 88 to Main Street.
Oh, okay.
Would that be within our limits, Mike?
Yeah, what would happen, Mike, is that the boundary line agreement establishes, so if a territory were to want to develop and it's within that respective community's boundary line, it would then fall to that respective boundary. We couldn't annex land that was in another municipality's boundary area. So basically, it just sets up the area where we would grow into at this point.
How big is that area? I mean, it's like a...
Well, what road is the red line currently?
It's actually on the Lake Run drainage ditch.
The line that you're looking at it's basically a section line, so it's an imaginary line, so to speak, that you only see on a survey or a map, and it just goes straight across to Bliss.
Yeah, the original thinking in 2015 was to stop there because our agreement with Batavia stopped at that portion as well. So that was just a natural break point for us with Sugar Grove. But since we're opening up that discussion now and we're looking to expand a little bit to the northwest, that's what the additional line is intended to do.
I'm going to try to take a shot at this to see if this helps a little bit. But basically, it's like a layer cake. Right now, Sugar Grove can go north of North Aurora all the way into unincorporated Batavia and have the same rights to that land that we would if Batavia if Batavia came to the village and said, we both agree to have a boundary line here, Sugar Grove can still have a boundary line agreement separate with Batavia that would give them rights to land that we would also have rights to with Batavia. By doing, I know it's confusing, so by doing this, what we're doing is we're making a delineation point where Sugar Grove stops here, we start, and then Batavia potentially would stop.
And that's
So-
not necessarily our city limits, is that what you're saying?
This would be what we call our future incorporated boundary lines.
Okay.
Meaning right now, the land out there is not, it's in the county. It's not in any municipal jurisdiction at a village level. But if a developer came in and wanted to annex, right now there's pieces of property north of us that they can annex into Batavia. When we're trying to clean up, if that ever happens, which part, who goes to Batavia, which properties go to North Aurora, and we're doing the same thing with Sugar Grove.
So right now, that red line, if you extend it, would it go up the main street, just straight north, or where is it currently?
The red line, if you took it straight to Main Street, would follow the Lake Run drainage ditch.
So that's where it's at right now?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Well, but it stops at.
It veers off
doesn't
east,
go-
I think.
So Sugar Grove can hop over the north of us and go to Batavia, towards Batavia.
So the drainage line right now going north, I believe, is the actual line of delineation between Sugar Grove and Batavia. So if you follow that boundary, that drainage ditch up to the north, that's what divides the future areas of both Sugar Grove and Batavia. So by actually going towards actually Bliss Road in this case, we're actually assuming more to the west because right now Sugar Grove has that territory which would be north of our current termination of that boundary line point.
Essentially, if you look at the blue dotted
Makes
line
sense, yeah.
that goes directly west of where the red line terminates, that's the section line, and our current agreement follows that section line to Bliss Road. What Mike is saying, by taking that little jaunt to the west and then following Norris Road to Bliss, Sugar Grove is now essentially giving us the rights to land that they had rights to
And they're in
earlier.
agreement
And
with
now
this?
we are the only ones that have rights to that between us and them.
And they agree with this?
Yes.
Yeah, they actually did this, this exhibit here. They're actually going to be discussing this with their board tomorrow night, and then we're going to meet back up this week to discuss it. So yeah, they are on board with this, and they've been sharing this with Batavia as well.
And then Batavia would be north of Main Street, is that right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Now-
Anything, it's going to depend on how we negotiate with Batavia, but we're looking at, some of the natural break lines with us and Batavia might be CV Road. It might be some of on CV Road, Mike follows this line here. So there might be some additional consideration with our negotiations with Batavia. But what this does, it says Batavia or North Aurora can't go any further west than Bliss Road. That's what this is saying.
It's my current understanding, and Mike can clear this up if I'm wrong, but Sugar Grove's current boundary line agreement with Batavia does go all the way to Main Street. So you got to follow this line, that red line, then follow the blue line. Everything west of that line is Sugar Grove, essentially, in the future, up to Main Street, and then Batavia comes in. East of that line, it's North Aurora up until we hit the future boundary lines of Batavia, which is south of Main Street, potentially.
Sugar Grove's right to be contiguous to Batavia.
Correct. Right now, we would have an agreement, no, they'd be contiguous to Batavia west of Bliss Road, still, by this. What we're doing is anything east of Bliss Road would now be North Aurora or Batavia north of Norris Road. Right now, it could be Sugar Grove, Batavia, or us.
So how far does Batavia go out then? Batavia goes out east of, or farther west than this blue line? This blue dotted line?
No, this is the demising line between, this would be between North Aurora and Batavia could not go further west than this line.
I think the question is, does Batavia and Sugar Grove have a boundary agreement now on?
But
That's
we
the
would be
question.
cutting them off. So Sugar Grove would not ever be contiguous to Batavia again if this is.
They would be north of here. I have another exhibit I can
north
share.
of Main
Yeah,
Street, they
north of
come
Main
west.
Street, yes.
They
Correct.
come farther west.
So we're
Correct.
saying south of Main Street, it would be Sugar Grove to the west, Batavia, let's just say around Main Street to CV, that area, and then us going up that way and connecting to them.
Is there any reason why we don't go all the way out to, what is that, Bliss Road?
Because of our current boundary line with Sugar Sugar Grove. We already have a boundary line agreement that has designated that for Sugar Grove. Not even in this new one that we did 3 years ago. That was the boundary line from the one that was out 20 years before that, I believe.
And they don't want to give that up?
In this case, in this scenario, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're essentially giving us the rights to land that they had the rights to, so they're actually giving us land.
Correct. We're actually assuming more land under this amended agreement than before.
Right.
Aren't we proposing we're going to go to Bliss Road?
Yes.
I'm sorry, say
Yeah.
that again?
Yes, north
Yeah.
of Norris.
Yes.
No, but I'm talking about Tanner Road all the way out to Bliss, to make it a,
I'd like to see us
Straight
go all the way down to the tollway, straight down Bliss.
I'd like to see it too.
Yeah, I mean,
It
we're,
seems weird to cut it off like that.
well, right, because we're just, Sugar Grove's gonna come right up to the edge of Lake Run
We've
or
already-
whatever.
We've already had a boundary agreement with on that, and I don't think there's,
I mean, under their current boundary line agreement, if they did nothing, we would actually lose land. Because they have the rights for 17 more years to more land. They're giving us more land in this agreement.
so basically this area in blue, we're still negotiating with Batavia in this hatched area, but this could potentially be North Aurora, was before it would be, had been negotiated between Batavia and Sugar Grove. So by amending this, we're actually assuming additional territory, in theory, if we were to expand to the northwest.
No, I think it's good. I think it makes sense.
So if we tried to go any further west right now in our current agreement, I don't know if Sugar Grove would actually go for that. They would probably just say that we would just keep the agreement as is, and the rest could tussle with the north. But through this, we actually have clear lines now that we can negotiate with the two other communities.
And for the record, once again, this map is not accurate yet. This is all just, the shaded areas are just areas for discussion for potential North Aurora.
Yeah.
well, yeah, there's a lot of forest preserve district in there too, as you can see.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with it too.
I would rather see more than less. Right.
Yeah, me too.
Well, the thoughts between Main Street and Bliss is that, the Forest Preserve District has a huge piece of land west of Batavia between there and Bliss, so it's not really something that they're gonna be able to service, although there's some Forest District land between us and that too, so, it's sort of questionable as to the future.
No, right now, North Aurora, out of the three communities, has, in my opinion, the best ability to service that area because we have actual subdivisions. If you saw on that map to the north of CV Road, that shaded pinkish coral area is unincorporated areas that are currently within the future boundary lines of Batavia should they ever annex to a municipality. So when you talk about that, actual water services, sewer lines, those in North Aurora, we're pretty much the only ones who have actual physical infrastructure in the ground in those areas already.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? Everybody clear? I think it's done a good job in our negotiations with Sugar Grove and with Batavia. And hopefully we'll get moving with Aurora. But I think we'll come to an agreement with Batavia. So, any other questions?
No.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Mo-
moved.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much.